Good morning, welcome to CATEX TV. My name is Frank Fortunato. Today is Monday, July 21st, 2014. In the eastern Ukraine, 3 Dutch investigators have finally reached the crash site of the downed Malaysian 777 airplane. The plane was brought down late last week by an anti-aircraft surface-to-air missile. As we know now, the missile was Russian in origin. President Putin of Russia has now been embroiled in a very severe controversy, which is undoubtedly going to yield more sanctions. Now, this would be sanctions that the Americans have already imposed, but the Europeans are going to follow. The sanctions could be levied as early as later today. Right now, Ukrainian officials say that 272 bodies have been found. 27 bodies are still not found. The bodies have been placed on a sealed refrigerated train relatively near to the crash site. Unfortunately, in that particular area, heavy fighting has now developed. People are fleeing the city nearby, according to the BBC. This would be the city of Donetsk. Also, several buildings are on fire, as well as heavy shelling involving heavy weapons continuing near the city's airport and the railway station. The whole thing is a gigantic mess. A separate group of international investigators, about 30 of them, are now in the city of Kharkov. They're expected to try to get closer to the crash site today. All Putin is saying is that it's essential to give international experts complete security so that they can conduct independent investigations. Secretary of State John Kerry is in the air right now. He left Washington early this morning. He's headed to Cairo. He's going to meet with the UN General Secretary there. And they're going to try to arrange a peace arrangement between the Israelis and the Hamas fighting group that has been fighting in the Gaza Strip for the last 2 weeks. At least 510 Palestinians have been killed. 20 Israelis have been killed. Tens of thousands of Gazans have been driven from their home. Despite the new ceasefire efforts, Israeli aircraft continue to fire rockets and missiles into Gaza today, while Hamas is firing more rockets and continue to try to send infiltrators through the tunnel system they have created, some of which run as deep as 100 feet below ground. Fears are growing that the Gaza conflict could now transfer to the streets of France after Jewish-owned shops were burned and pillaged last night during a second night of pro-Palestinian anti-Jewish demonstrations in France. Riot police held back a mob of youths who tried to attack 2 synagogues in a suburb of Paris, the town of Sarcelles. This demonstration had begun peacefully earlier in the day but turned violent when attacks on Jewish businesses and 4 hours of running battles between police and youths occurred. Several cars were burned. The concern now, of course, is the protests are not necessarily simply anti-Israel, they are anti-Jewish. Liberty Mutual's $6.5 billion adverse development cover with Berkshire Hathaway has already paid dividends and received a number of ratings upgrades from Standard & Poor's over the weekend. As previously reported, the adverse development cover for Liberty, with an aggregate limit of $6.5 billion for its U.S. workers' comp, asbestos, and environmental liabilities, was broke by Rod Fox's Tiger Risk Company, and it was picked up by Berkshire Hathaway's National Indemnity Company. Berkshire charged Liberty $3 billion in premium for the cover, which attaches at $12.5 billion for combined aggregate reserves. This transaction is further evidence of Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway appetite for assuming significant books of long-term liability business and using the float created by the $3 billion to generate investment returns over the life of the contract. The reinsurance recoverable from Berkshire Hathaway is already fully collateralized. Investors will have an opportunity to ride Hamilton Re's group up to the IPO, according to Brian Duperreault, the CEO. They're talking about having a IPO as early as next year. Hamilton Re was just formed several months ago, but it has $800 billion in capital as of the end of the first quarter, and it's already rated an A- by AM Best. The IPO for Hamilton Insurance Group would include some light being shined at a number of people, including the group chairman, Sandy Weil, who is also the chairman emeritus of Citigroup. Also on board is David Brown, who is the former CEO of Centra Solutions and also Flagstone Reinsurance. Hamilton Re has over 200 clients already, and they're looking to build a U.S. and Lloyd's presence. Look out, South Carolina, Illinois, and Missouri. Although California is still known for earthquakes, new U.S. government maps extend the high risk of quakes for much more of the country. On Thursday, the USGS announced updated U.S. national seismic hazard maps, which reflect the most current scientific views on where future earthquakes will occur. They say that the general patterns of earthquakes across the U.S. have not changed significantly, but lots of detail has changed. According to the USGS, now the regions most at risk do remain the West Coast, the Intermountain West, and several known active regions in the central and eastern U.S., including the New Madrid Fault in Missouri and in Charleston, South Carolina. The 16 states at highest risk of quakes are Alaska, Arkansas, California, Hawaii, Idaho, Illinois, Kentucky, Missouri, Montana, Nevada, Oregon, South Carolina, Tennessee, Utah, Washington, and Wyoming. 2 people were injured and more than 100 homes were evacuated last night due to a diesel spill from a train derailment in Slinger County, Wisconsin. The trains from the Canadian National Railway Company and Wisconsin Southern were involved. Apparently 5,000 gallons of diesel fuel spilled from an engine. Dikes and booms have been put in place, and nobody has been injured. There was a 6.2 magnitude earthquake that struck off the northeast coast of Hokkaido Island in Japan earlier today. There was no tsunami warning issued, apparently no reports of immediate damage. The land area most hit by the earthquake were the disputed Kuril Islands. The Russians have a small military presence there, and the Japanese are saying that the islands are theirs. That's the news for today. If we have any breaking news, we'll come back and tell you. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.